Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Deadology Podcast from Pencil Hill Studio, New Paltz, New York. I'm your host, Howard Weiner. This is Season 2, Episode 28 of the podcast. Today, August 1st, 2024. It's Jerry Garcia's birthday. And therefore, we have a special edition of the Deadology Podcast to honor Mr. Garcia. And this week, we'll be taking a look at Jerry's only performance in the land of his ancestors. That was with the Grateful Dead on October 19th, 1981 in Barcelona, Spain. Next week, we'll have Doug Schmel back on the podcast as we celebrate the 50th anniversary of the Roosevelt Stadium show from August 6, 1974, an all-time classic there. And looking forward to that. That was going to be this week's podcast, but I couldn't let the week pass, couldn't let Jerry's birthday pass without breaking out another episode of the Deadology podcast for you. And one of the reasons that this October 19th, 1981, Garcia's only performance in Spain, besides being an awesome show, I didn't think I'd have a chance to get to it. I usually like to get to shows during the anniversary dates, but October 19th is loaded. In my book, Deadology, the 33 Essential Dates of Grateful Dead History, the first date I write about in the book is October 19th because there's so many awesome shows on that day. Let's just take a look at the 10-year period from 71 to 81. October 19th, 1971, they played in Minneapolis. The Grateful Dead played Minneapolis. Keith Godshow's first time they played Jack Straw, Comes a Time, One More Saturday Night, a few other tunes. So definitely a historic night that night. 1972, another great show, Fox Theater. I believe that's in St. Louis. That was the last show of that three-night run. A great three-night run, as so many of everything in 72 was great, so that's pretty obvious. October 19th, 1973, Oklahoma City. Dick's Picks, I believe that, if I recall correctly, it's volume 19, but it's one of the best in that series. Definitely one of the best shows of 1973. And the same could be said for October 1974 at the Winterland. The next to last night in that Winterland run, which led to a little break for the Grateful Dead as they didn't do an official tour in 1975. Then we move forward to 1980. This is probably the most underrated of the October 19 shows, the Sanger Theater in New Orleans. This was in between the Warfield and Radio City shows, where they opened up with the acoustic set and then followed with two electric sets. By the way, this particular show is one of the greatest Jack Straws. I'd highly recommend checking it out. I have that up on my Positively Garcia YouTube page, 10-19-80 Jack Straw. Definitely want to check that out. And then to cap off this 10-year period of 6 great shows, you got the Barcelona show. Garcia's only appearance in Spain in 1981 on October 19th. Closed out the tour. Very kind of overlooked tour if you think of how much attention, and rightfully so, the Europe 72 tour gets. This 1981 is, kind of slips under the radar a bit, but a lot of very hot shows, especially towards the end of the tour. You got Munich, Germany, October 12th, I like a lot. Obviously, the Amsterdam shows, especially the one October 16th on Bobby's birthday. That's an incredible show. That's definitely going to be a podcast in the future. I'm surprised I haven't got to that one yet. It broke out a bunch of stuff that night. Gloria, Turn On Your Love Light, stuff they hadn't done in years. And then with rented equipment. Then the next night they're in France, Hippodrome, another awesome show, played Morning Dew that night. And they wrapped it all up with this in Barcelona, which might even be probably the best overall show of that tour, in my opinion. So let's jump right into Barcelona and the band is psyched. You could just tell by the songs they're selecting, the way they're playing. One major unfortunate thing happens right away. They open up with Jack Straw Franklin's. Obviously, that's not the thing that the choice of songs was right on. That told you where the band's head was at that night. They wanted to kick ass, but the sound mix on it is terrible. During Jack Straw, Garcia's playing and he can't hear himself, and you can't hear him on the tape, and it's like a wasted Jack Straw. And they plow on. They go into Franklin's, and you could hear Garcia playing, but just barely. And it's the mix is terrible. I'm sure it must have been exciting that you're there, you're hearing Jack Straw Franklin's, but as a listener listening to the tape, it's nothing that you can't even rate it. Like say, hey, they played a good straw that night or a bad. It's incomplete. It was just a complete mess up with the sound, which had nothing to do with the band's performance. But unfortunately, they wasted an opportunity to to come right out and have a great Jack Straw Franklin's opener, which it obviously would have been great because everything they played on this night was right on the money. And probably about 3/4 of the way into Franklin's, the sound straightens out and things normalize. And then it's smooth sailing from there on in. Mama Tried Mexicali is the third and fourth song, and everything's normal as it should be. And it's just too bad they didn't do it in reverse. Somehow they knew they were having issues, and they opened up Mama Tried Mex, and got everything straightened out during that. And then there was clear sailing for Jack Straw Franklin's. That would have worked out a lot better, man. It's just a shame we didn't get to hear what they could have done with that Jack Straw Franklin's on that night. But no mark against the band there. It was sound issues. So then, fifth song of the night is the first real kind of home run they hit here. Awesome version of Loser, Jerry singing, the guitar playing. You could tell this is going to be a special night. First set rolls along with pretty normal songs for 1981, but that's a good thing because this was a year where they still played a lot of songs in the first set, and they had great song selection. CC Rider is 6, Tennessee Jed, Jerry singing, and the way the band's playing just as good as Loser. So you're getting some awesome versions here. And then Passenger in the 8th spot. Now this is Passenger. This is a great version. Maybe could have used one more round at the end. Weir came in a little early, but it's a smoking hot version. And Passenger is just one of those songs which I have like just a deep love for, because it's a short little 5-minute song, kind of like Greatest Story was in 1972. And just it packed that punch where you hear it and you got to replay the Garcia's Jam because it's so hot. Just one of those little short powder keg songs, kind of rare in the Dead Arsenal, because usually their best jamming songs, you're going into 10-minute territory. So Passenger was one of those great songs. It's a shame they stopped playing it in 1982. I never got to see it. I started seeing the Dead in 81. I don't know why. There's certain songs where I just scratch. I can't believe they stopped playing. Passenger being one, Lazy Lightning, Supplication. They brought some new songs, but nothing could replace those tunes. Those are great tunes. They follow up Passenger with a new one from Go to Heaven, Althea. Been around almost 2 years now. Very well played. Nice version. Well sung. Good instrumentals in between. The only thing, it doesn't have a long ending jam. A lot of the Altheas from this period, 80, 81, Garcia really goes off at the end. This one, great version, but they just don't go off at the end as much. But boy, do they make up for it. This Let It Grow to end the set. This is the 11th song, Let It Grow. This Let It Grow, just 14 minutes of unhinged jamming. Incredible. I was listening to it again today before the podcast, and I already selected and edited the audio cuts I'm putting in. I should have put something from this Let It Grow into the podcast. It's that good. I'd rate it, definitely one of the best ever. In my book, Deadology Volume 2, I didn't rank like Let It Grow as 1, 2, 3, 4, anything like that. But I mentioned like 9 of the best versions, 8, 9 of the best versions, talked about them. This one should have been one of them because it's so freaking hot. It's incredible. all the way through. The band is clicking. Garcia is just shredding. Every single jam is just on the money. Unbelievable. Just a relentless guitar instrumental assault by the Grateful Dead to close out the first set. And they're headed to uncharted territory in Barcelona. You could just tell the band is so pumped to be in that beautiful city for the first time. So set 2 comes around, and there's some great audio highlights I'm going to get to from this set. But the pre-drums here, Scarlet Fire, Lost Sailor Saint, and Jam. I like to call this thing the Barcelona Jam. It's such an original thing, which Garcia does after the Sint of Circumstances. This is one of my most listened to segments of any Grateful Dead show. So like when you're listening to the Grateful Dead, how many of us have time to sit down and listen to a 3-hour show before? It's not easy to fit that into your daily schedule. I do it when I'm writing a book. I have to have the discipline to listen to an entire show, or when I'm doing a podcast. But in the normal run of things, I'm listening to segments. Like, okay, I'm going to the gym. Let me pick out a 45-minute segment. Or, I'm going for a drive. Let me pick out an hour segment. So I rarely listen to entire shows or sets unless I'm doing it for a purpose. This pre-drums from Barcelona, it's up there in my top 20 segments where I just could listen to this over and over. And every time it's completely interesting and invigorating. So we open up with the Scarlet Fire. This Scarlet Fire, as far as being a favorite of mine, it's probably top 5. I wouldn't rank it as a top 5 Scarlet Fire. It'd probably be more like number 10 or something like that. But there's something about it. There's a momentous bounce and beat to the way the Scarlet starts. Whenever I hear it kick in, I'm like, this is exactly the way I want to hear Scarlet, from the singing to the way everyone in the band's playing, Brent's contributions, which are huge all the way throughout this Scarlet Fire, and just a ripping middle jam. There is one slight vocal flub from Jerry in there, but his voice is unbelievable on this night. And it's this Scarlet outro into Fire, just unbelievable. It's as they kind of reach the end of the Scarlet, it's sizzling along like any Scarlet should. And then it just hits this point where it's like a mesmerizing, minimalist jamming going on, where it's almost like the control of the band is impressive, bordering on scary. It's just, they go from sizzling to just bringing it down a notch. And then just the interplay, like Brent playing off Jerry playing off the cymbals that Billy or Mickey are hitting at the end of the Scarlet. It's just unbelievable. And then they just blast into Fire where Phil just leads them in. And it's the coolest thing, one of the coolest things I've ever heard in a Scarlet Fire. So I think it would be appropriate at this point if we check out that segue Scarlet Fire from Barcelona. Music is playing the band October 19th, 1981, Barcelona. There's no way you could preconceive of something like that. That's Grateful Dead magic in the moment. The Scarlet Fire segue has produced so many awesome jams like that, one-of-a-kind type things, and I especially love this one from Barcelona. And so the cool thing about this version is not very long. There's definitely longer versions, more cumbersome, more jamming, more ripping. But there's like a beauty to this version where everything you need is there in a kind of like a succinct 25-minute or under version. So first jam is pretty good, but the second solo here, just the band and Jerry ripping, and I'm gonna play that. No reason to even to try to describe it. It's just incredible playing. Not as long as some other Fire jams, but the way Garcia finishes this up at the end with a huge exclamation point with the speed playing. If you haven't heard it, you're gonna love it.
I wish it for you. More than just ashes when your dreams come true. Fire, fire on the mountain. Fire, fire on the mountain. Fire, fire on the mountain. Fire, fire on the mountain.
Garcia and Fuego. That's what they were saying that night in Barcelona, and maybe that's where that catchphrase started. Garcia and Fuego. So the smoldering remains of that scarlet fire segue into the serene ambiance of Lost Sailor. And Lost Sailor was such a cool song. It had this way of coming after a shakedown or a hot fire. It was like the perfect, just the perfect sound, and created the perfect mood. As a song, Lost Sailor is a good song, but there was just the feel of the music. Just like it was perfect for that part in a Grateful Dead show. Like if you were putting an album together, Lost Sailor is like the perfect song to follow Fire on the Mountain. If a more desired combo would obviously be Estimated Eyes, but Lost Sailor just created like that feel, that ambiance to a show. Once again, only the Grateful Dead could throw something like that out there and make it work at the right spot in the show. So Lost Sailor, obviously we're going into Sint of Circumstance, and this Sint of Circumstance, hands down, is the best version ever. The guitar jam is completely insane. A lot of good Sint of Circumstance out there. I like the one from Providence, 4485. That comes towards the end of the first set. Philly, 4682. Great Sint of Circumstance. Just the incredible guitar work from Jerry. But this one, forget about it, man. Garcia just goes nuts on this. So without further ado, here is the Barcelona Sint of Circumstance.
I'm still walking, so I'm sure that I can dance. It's a Sint of Circumstance. She's a target in a chase. And the rain falling down, 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 rain falling down.
Jerry Garcia, Strong Like Bull in Barcelona. Man, that's incredible. Wow. What a fiery jam. Incredible Sint of Circumstance. And the whole band is just on, man. They're all completely into it. This is the band performing at a peak level in 1981, which might be the most underrated year. I mean, a lot of people love 1981, but yeah, just so much diversity, and Garcia's voice is beautiful this year. The band's locked in. They played a lot in 1981, and just a lot of different feel, and just one of the last truly great years where you're getting the full effort every night. 11 song first sets, long second sets. An extraordinary year coming on the heels of the Radio City shows and the Warfield shows, and the whole Reckoning, Dead Set, Dead Ahead thing. So, and Go to Heaven was the recent album, but in 1981 they just took everything that they had done in their career and took it to a new level. Love this show and this year. So Sint of Circumstance, and we're getting close to drums, but Garcia just after they hit the incendiary final notes of Sint of Circumstance, Jerry's not done. He just steps up to the front of the stage and starts doing this beautiful Barcelona guitar soliloquy. Just he starts jamming away, and it's one of the most unique things. Sometimes you just get up there and you do a jam and it's cool, this and that, but there's something so unique and beautiful about what he was doing, and it was just improvisation in the moment. So it's about a 5-6 minute jam, but let's hear a few minutes of that right after the Sint of Circumstance. Jerry stepping up, a little more magic for Barcelona. Jerry in Noodling Nirvana there. Awesome, man. Just a great conclusion to that. He goes on for a few minutes, but a great pre-drum segment, and just something, as I've already mentioned, man, a go-to segment, man. Just brilliant stuff from the Grateful Dead, October 19th, 81. Drums, space, and then I'm beginning to laugh at the next song. They do the Spanish Jam. Obviously, you're in Spain, so it was the right call. And I listened to it again today before the broadcast. I was a little more impressed with it, but it's kind of funny for Spanish Jam. This is one of the weakest ones they ever did. They're in the middle of a freaking great night. They're playing as good as they could play. They decide to go into Spanish Jam. Jerry's doing some nice licks on it. Brent, everyone's doing their little bit, but it never coalesced. It never really, on a night where everything was coming together and exceeding expectation. The music's playing, the band, just like everything great you could say about a show. The Spanish Jam came up kind of weak, but it was still good. I'm glad they threw in the little Spanish Jam a couple of minutes. They gave it a try, and then they go into the other one. Pretty good opening jam, a little short. The big between verse jam is pretty hot. It's a little short for another one from this time period, but still very good. Feeding off the energy from this show, typical good other one. And then they go into Stella Blue. And man, these Stella Blues from 1981, just Jerry's voice, beautiful. 81 and 82 for me is peak Jerry singing. I think, like, as you musician, vocalist, takes a good 15, 20 years till you really hit that master stage, and no matter how good you were. And Jerry had all those great years in the 70s. The only thing that hurt him towards the end of his career, obviously all the smoking he did ruined his voice. So the last years where you could really get some prime, where Garcia could go through a whole show and just sound brilliant. 81 and 82, I think, he just like peak form Jerry, as good as you're going to hear him vocally. He's a complete master, the greatest singer I ever heard. I just love the way the guy sings. I think he's underrated as a guitarist, but even more underrated as a singer to the whole musical world. As big as the Grateful Dead get, people still don't even give enough credit to either way, but especially vocally. I mean, who sings like this guy? Ripple, just these songs. As someone who does a little singing myself, man, I can't touch Jerry. It's and even when you go see all the Dead cover bands, and very rarely do I hear someone I say, yep, that guy sounds just like Jerry. This guy had such a unique and brilliant voice, and it comes through on this Stella Blue. And man, a beautiful version, pretty good outro solo. And this time period was incredible for Stella Blue. Earlier in the tour, Garcia shredded an outro. It was October 6th, 81. It was in England. I think might have been the Rainbow Theater. I'm not sure about the place, but I know it's October 6th, 81. An incredible Stella Blue outro. And then in Boulder, Colorado, December 9th, 81, another, probably the best outro I ever heard from the Stella Blue. And that's the funny thing about Stella Blue. It was incredible. Some nights it could almost hit you like a morning dew. The ending would be so powerful. But more often than not, Stella Blue didn't get a great outro. Especially as the 80s rolled along, they kind of quickly went through it. So it was kind of rare when you heard a hot Stella Blue outro. It really stands out. And this one's good. Not as incredible as some of the other ones from... this was a good time period for Stella Blue jams. But anyway, a very satisfactory version all the way through. And then we're going to close this set out with Sugar Magnolia. And wow. Like I said, I'm listening to segments. I know the first side of this second set so well, inside out. For every 50 times I hear the Scarlet Fire, Sailor Saint, I hear the post drums once. And, and definitely a worthwhile post drum, is very good. And I was taken back by how good this Sugar Magnolia is. When I was listening to it for the podcast, I'm like, wow. I knew it was good, but when I'm listening to it, I'm like, this is one of the best Sugar Magnolias. The band is just in complete rock mode. Like, let's bring it on home one more time for Jerry and Barcelona and Spain. It's like a huge celebration, but it's very thunderous. Probably the most thunderous thing they played all night. So here it is, the Sugar Magnolia Jam. A thunderous Sugar Mag Jam there to end set 2. And wow, the band is so into it. They're into it as much as Garcia is, man. What a amazing end to their Europe 81 journey to be in Barcelona. And then even the Sunshine Daydream has a very cool instrumental. So really one of the better Sugar Mags. The band is just in overdrive at this point. You know, it sounded like incredible, man. They could have went for a third set if it weren't for curfews and that type thing. But for them to have this much energy at the end of a Europe tour, just incredible. And then Don't Ease Me In encore, but actually very peppy, energetic, solid version of Don't Ease Me In. So a great way to end it all up. Successful night, October 19th, 1981. Listen to the whole show, but if you don't have the time, focus in on that set too. It's an incredible set. And so the Grateful Dead go back to the amazing thing about one of the amazing things of 1981 for Garcia. He would play with the Garcia band. Then he would tour with the Dead. The Dead did a Europe tour earlier in 81, a smaller one. It was just a couple of shows in March. So Garcia was flying all over the world, back and forth all year, like no other year before. An incredible year, 1981. And that's it for the Barcelona show. Deadology podcast. Hey, happy birthday, Jerry Garcia. We definitely miss him, but in a way we don't, because at least me personally, he's in my life every day. I'm listening to the music. I have the great fortune of doing a podcast and writing about the music. So, I mean, he just gave us a gift that is eternal, man. And, man, Jerry's birthday, it's very touching. It's, what could anyone say about what that, it's such a legacy when the Sphere and all these people going to Vegas, it all comes around to this one man and the genius and the generosity of his playing, man. And Jerry Garcia, happy birthday. Next week, I'll be back with Doug Schmel. And it's funny, we're going from this Barcelona show, which I just raved about, but we're going back to 1974 for the 50th anniversary of perhaps the best show from that year. So it only gets better next week, and look forward to doing that podcast with Doug. Everybody, thanks for listening. I'm your host, Howard Weiner. My website, tangledupintunes.com. My books are on Amazon. And can't wait to get to this podcast next week. Roosevelt Stadium 74. Peace out. And hey, man, it's Jerry's birthday week. Go out, catch a Dead band, catch some live music. Days between. That's what we should be doing this week. And should be doing every week, but especially this week, man. Go out, celebrate the life of Jerry Garcia. Peace.